They erased my mom. Former Navy SEAL mother fights corrupt FBI to save her daughter. What would you do if you woke up one morning and discovered you don't exist? Your birth certificate, deleted. Your social security number, erased. Your entire life, wiped from every government database. This is exactly what happened to Rachel Morgan, a single mother who thought she'd left her dangerous past behind. But when a corrupt FBI agent discovers her true identity as a former Navy SEAL Team 6 sniper, he decides her clean American identity is worth millions on the black market. What follows is an incredible story of a mother's determination to reclaim not just her name, but her daughter's future. If you're ready for a heart-pounding thriller about courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and child, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will leave you questioning everything you know about identity and power in America. The welding torch sparked to life in Rachel Morgan's steady hands, its blue flame cutting through steel with surgical precision. The Baltimore shipyard hummed with the industrial symphonies she'd grown to love over the past decade. The rhythmic clang of hammers on metal, the whir of massive cranes hoisting hull sections, the hiss of a dozen torches shaping America's naval future. At 32, Rachel had found her place in this world of honest work and calloused hands, far from the life she'd buried 10 years ago. "Morgan, you're making the rest of us look like amateurs again," Carlos called out from his station, his voice carrying the respectful teasing reserved for those who'd earned their place through skill rather than talk. The morning shift crew had long stopped questioning how a woman half their size could outlast and outwork most of them. They'd learned what Rachel had always known. True strength came from within, forged in fires most people couldn't imagine. She lifted her welding mask, revealing sharp green eyes that seemed to hold depths most people missed. Her honey blonde hair, pulled back in a practical ponytail, showed premature streaks of silver, each one a reminder of choices made in places where the wrong decision meant death. "Maybe you should spend less time talking and more time practicing, Carlos. That bead looks like you welded it during an earthquake." The crew erupted in laughter, the kind that built camaraderie in tough jobs. Jack Sullivan, their shift supervisor and unofficial patriarch at 68, studied Rachel with the careful attention of someone who recognized kindred spirits. 20 years in Delta Force had taught him to read people, like others, read books, and Rachel Morgan was a story with chapters deliberately torn out. Rachel's phone vibrated against her hip with the specific pattern she'd assigned to Emma's school: 3 short, 2 long. Her maternal instincts, honed through 10 years of single motherhood and sharpened by dangers her daughter would never know about, immediately went to high alert. She checked the time, 9:47 a.m. Too early for lunch, problems, too late for morning attendance issues. "Jack, I need 5, she called already, stripping off her heavy welding gloves. "Take whatever you need," Jack replied without hesitation, his tone carrying the understanding of a man who'd raised 3 daughters while serving in the world's most elite military unit. He knew that particular tension in a parent's voice. The phone rang twice before Mrs. Patterson answered, and Rachel immediately caught the nervousness in the school secretary's voice. "Ms. Morgan, this is Mrs. Patterson from Ridgewood Elementary. There's been an incident." Rachel's blood turned Arctic cold, but her voice remained steady, a skill learned in kill houses and combat zones where panic meant mission failure. "Is Emma hurt?" "No, she's not hurt, but there are some people here. Government people. They're asking about your documentation. They say there's a serious problem with your records. Don't let anyone take her anywhere. Do you understand me, Mrs. Patterson?" "No one. I'll be there in 15 minutes. "Ms. Morgan, they have federal badges. They're saying it's urgent." 15 minutes. Rachel ended the call and turned to Jack, who was already watching her with the focused attention of an operator reading a developing situation. "Family emergency. I need to go." His weathered eyes narrowed, picking up signals in her body language that triggered old instincts. "You need backup." "Just paperwork, confusion." Rachel lied smoothly, though her mind was already running through threat assessments and contingency plans. Probably a Social Security mix-up. But as she jogged to her 10-year-old Ford pickup, Rachel's trained mind was cycling through possibilities at combat speed. The identity of Rachel Morgan had been crafted by experts, people who owed her their lives, people who understood how to build legends that would withstand scrutiny. CIA operators who'd promised her a clean slate after Afghanistan, after the shot that had saved a platoon, but cost her everything. The drive to Ridgewood Elementary typically took 20 minutes through Baltimore's morning traffic. Rachel made it in 12, taking corners with the precision of someone who'd learned to drive in Fallujah's kill zones. Her hands remained steady on the wheel, but her mind was compartmentalizing threats, analyzing patterns, preparing for contact. The school parking lot appeared normal at first glance. Minivans with stick-figure families on the windows, sensible sedans with teacher parking permits, the crossing guard chatting with the mailman about yesterday's Ravens game. But Rachel's trained eye immediately identified the anomalies: two black Chevrolet Suburbans with government plates antennas that suggested encrypted communications capability and tinted windows that reflected nothing back. The kind of vehicles that appeared in places where constitutional rights became negotiable. She parked strategically, rear facing out for rapid departure, keys transferred to her left hand, keeping her right free for action, truck positioned to use as cover if needed. These were automatic responses, muscle memory, that a decade of welding couldn't overwrite. The school's front office felt smaller with the wrong people in it. Patterson sat rigid behind her desk, her face pale with the kind of fear that came from ordinary people suddenly confronted with federal authority. Emma sat in one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs, her Little Mermaid backpack clutched against her chest like armor. Her blue eyes, the same shade as the father she'd never know about, wide with confusion and growing fear. Three people in dark suits stood around them, their positions tactical rather than casual, covering exits, maintaining sight lines ready for rapid response. Federal agents, but something was off about their energy, their positioning. They were hunting, not investigating. "Mommy?" Emma started to rise, but the female agent, cold brown eyes and a forgettable face, placed a restraining hand on her small shoulder. "Take your hand off my daughter." Rachel's voice carried the kind of command authority that made seasoned operators step back. It wasn't loud, wasn't aggressive, but it promised consequences that reasonable people wanted to avoid. The female agent complied, but slowly, deliberately maintaining eye contact like a predator testing boundaries. The social dynamics of violence establishing dominance through microaggressions. Rachel had seen it in interrogation rooms from Kabul to Kandahar. Ms. Morgan, the lead agent, a tall African-American man with kind eyes that didn't match his rigid posture, stepped forward with careful deliberation. "I'm Agent Williams with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We need to discuss some serious irregularities with your documentation." "My documentation is in perfect order." Rachel moved with casual precision, positioning herself between the agents and Emma, a protective barrier that looked natural but created tactical advantage. Agent Williams noticed. His hand drifted incrementally toward his hip, where his service weapon created a subtle bulge. "That's the problem, ma'am. According to our records, all federal records actually, you don't exist. There's no Rachel Morgan matching your description in any government database. No birth certificate on file, no social security number in the system, no record of you ever being born on American soil." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Rachel felt Emma's small hand grip the back of her shirt, anchoring herself to the only parent she'd ever known. In the corner of her eye, she saw Mrs. Patterson's shocked expression, the look of someone watching their understanding of reality crack. But Rachel's face remained calm, even as her mind raced through implications and contingencies. Someone had burned her legend. Someone with access and authority had reached into federal databases and deleted Rachel Morgan from existence. The question was, who, and more importantly, why now? After 10 years of quiet life, what had triggered this? "That's impossible. I have a driver's license, work permits, 10 years of tax returns. All fraudulent according to our systems," the female agent interrupted, producing a tablet and turning it to display Rachel's documents with large red invalid stamps across them. "As of 8:01 a.m. this morning, every trace of your existence has been flagged as fabricated, which makes you an illegal alien using false documents to claim American citizenship." "This is insane." Rachel pulled out her wallet, spreading her identification on the counter with deliberate calm. "Call my employer, Hawkins Shipbuilding. Call the IRS. I've been paying taxes for a decade." "Ma'am," Agent Williams' voice carried what seemed like genuine regret, "I need you to come with us. We'll sort this out at the federal building. Your daughter will need to come too until we can verify. No. The word came out with enough force to make everyone in the room tense. Rachel felt the energy shift the way air pressure changes before a storm. The agent's hands drifted toward weapons, their stances widening for stability. She forced herself to soften, to de-escalate. I mean, let me call someone first. My boyfriend Michael Torres. He can pick up Emma while we sort this out. Williams hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. Rachel dialed Michael's number, willing her voice to stay steady as it rang. Michael answered on the second ring, his voice warm with the casual affection of 2 years together. Hey, beautiful, aren't you supposed to be melting metal right now? Michael, I need you to come to Emma's school right now. Bring your press credentials. She kept her tone light but emphasized the last words in a pattern they'd established for emergencies. There was a pause. When Michael spoke again, the warmth was gone, replaced by the sharp focus of a Marine who'd survived Fallujah and Helmand. How bad? Code Gray. Their private shorthand for government problem, immediate response required. Emma needs you. 7 minutes, the line went dead. Michael Torres, former Force Recon Marine combat journalist who documented America's longest wars, didn't waste words when action was required. Williams was watching her carefully. Boyfriend's a reporter, freelance journalist. Rachel confirmed, noting how the agents exchanged glances. Media attention was the last thing any federal operation wanted. He's covered Homeland Security issues extensively. He'll have questions. The 5 minutes stretched like hours. Emma pressed against her mother's side, smart enough at 10 to know something was very wrong, but trusting enough to stay quiet. Rachel stroked her daughter's hair, the same honey blonde as her own, but without the silver streaks that marked prices paid in places children should never know about. Michael burst through the door at 6 minutes and 40 seconds, his press badge, prominent phone already recording. At 38, he still moved with a warrior's economy, his body language shifting the room's dynamic immediately. The agents recognized him as a fellow predator, even if they didn't know his full history. What's going on here? Michael's journalist voice was different from his regular one. Louder, more demanding, designed to unbalance authority figures. Sir, this is a federal immigration matter, Williams started. Immigration. Michael's eyebrows shot up as he moved to Rachel's side, his phone capturing everything. This is Rachel Morgan, born in Colorado Springs, 1992. I've seen her birth certificate. According to our records, that birth certificate is fraudulent, the female agent said. Michael pulled out his own phone, fingers flying across the screen. I'm calling the Denver Post. They'll want to know why ICE is harassing American citizens. Mr. Torres. Williams raised a hand. We're just trying to determine the facts. Morgan needs to come with us for questioning. It's routine. Routine? Michael's voice carried the kind of incredulity that made good sound bites. You're telling an American citizen she doesn't exist and calling it routine. You realize I have 16,000 Twitter followers who care about government overreach. Rachel touched Michael's arm, their signal to dial it back. He caught it, moderating slightly, but keeping his phone visible. Where exactly are you taking her? The federal building downtown, processing and verification. But Rachel heard what Williams didn't say. She recognized the careful phrasing, the bureaucratic dance around the truth. They weren't taking her to the regular ICE facilities. This was something else, something darker. Her instincts honed in places where the wrong red meant a flag-draped coffin screamed warnings. I'll come voluntarily, Rachel said, squeezing Emma's hand. But my daughter goes with Michael, not into any system. Michael. Already texting my editor. Michael confirmed, which was code for I'm documenting everything and have backup plans activated. Emma, you're coming with me, sweetheart. We'll get ice cream and figure this out. Mommy, Emma's voice was small, scared in the way that broke Rachel's heart. Rachel knelt to her daughter's level, taking her face in gentle hands. Remember what we talked about. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes with paperwork. This is just a big mistake that needs fixing. Michael will take care of you, and I'll be home for dinner. Okay. Emma nodded, though tears threatened. Rachel pulled her into a fierce hug, whispering in her ear, if I'm not back by bedtime, tell Michael to check the lockbox. He knows which one. Standing, Rachel faced the agents. Let's go. The ride in the black SUV was silent, except for the encrypted chatter on their radios. Rachel sat in the back, hands uncuffed. They were maintaining the pretense this was voluntary. She memorized the route, noted the agent's communication patterns, cataloged potential weapons and exit points. Skills she thought she'd buried with her old name rising to the surface like muscle memory. But they didn't go to the federal building. Instead, the SUV pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a nondescript office building in the industrial district. No signs, no markings, just gray concrete and fluorescent lights that hummed at a frequency designed to induce anxiety. Rachel's internal alarms moved from yellow to red, but she kept her expression neutral, her breathing steady. "This isn't the federal building," she observed mildly, testing their response. "Temporary facility," Williams replied, but she caught the discomfort in his voice. He didn't like this either. Good men sometimes found themselves in bad situations, more private for sensitive cases. And they led her through steel doors that locked electronically behind them with magnetic seals that would resist breaching charges. The corridor smelled of industrial disinfectant and something else. Fear, sweat, desperation, the scent of people who'd been erased from existence. Other victims sat in holding cells. Men and women with the hollow eyes of those who'd been disappeared, who'd learned that constitutional rights only applied to people who officially existed. The processing room was sterile white, with cameras in every corner, their red lights blinking in sequence. A different man waited there. White mid-40s with the kind of forgettable face that suggested intelligence work. His suit was federal budget gray, but his watch was a Rolex Submariner. Private sector money mixing with government authority. The worst kind of operator. Ms. Morgan? Or should I say Chief Petty Officer Sarah Mitchell? The name hit Rachel like a sledgehammer to the chest, though she didn't let it show. Sarah Mitchell had died in Afghanistan in 2014. She'd made sure of it. The paperwork filed, the witnesses briefed the body they'd never found because it had been vaporized in a drone strike she'd called on her own position to eliminate a high-value target. The ultimate sacrifice that had somehow become survival. "I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Rachel Morgan." The man smiled without warmth, the expression of someone who enjoyed having power over others. "My name is Special Agent Vincent Cross, and we both know that's not true. You were reported KIA in Operation Copper Mountain. Except you survived, didn't you? Crawled out of that hellhole and somehow convinced someone to give you a new identity. Who was it? CIA witness protection. Some bleeding heart in JSOC who thought you deserved a second chance. I want a lawyer." "Lawyers are for people who exist," Cross replied, pulling out a tablet and swiping through classified files that should have been buried in black sites. "According to every database in the United States government, you're a ghost, a non-person using fraudulent documents. That means no rights, no phone calls, no lawyers. Just you and me and the truth about Sarah Mitchell." Rachel remained silent, her training taking over. When captured, give nothing. Make them work for every piece of intelligence. Create confusion. Buy time, wait for opportunity. But her mind was racing through implications. Someone had burned her identity, but who and why now? After 10 years of quiet life, the answer came with Cross's next words. "You killed Mahmoud al-Rashidi, the Scorpion. One shot, one kill from 1847 meters in winds gusting to 40 knots. Legendary shot. The kind they teach at the Scout Sniper Basic course as impossible but worth attempting." Cross pulled up a satellite image on his tablet. A mountainside in Afghanistan, a red X marking where the Scorpion had died. That shot saved 32 Marines who were pinned down. Made you a legend. Also made you a target. Rachel kept her expression blank, but inside memories flooded back like water through a broken dam. The weight of the Macmillan TAC-50 rifle against her shoulder. The sound of her spotters breathing as they calculated wind drift and elevation. The moment of perfect stillness between heartbeats when she squeezed the trigger. The pink mist through her scope confirming the kill. "The thing is, boom." Cross continued, clearly enjoying his moment of power. "Al-Rashidi had a brother. Younger, smarter, with better connections and a lot more money. He's been looking for his brother's killer for 10 years. Imagine his surprise when he learned she was alive living in Baltimore, welding ships for the same Navy she used to serve. "You're selling me." The words came out flat, matter of fact. Rachel had seen enough of the world's darkness to recognize it immediately. This wasn't about immigration or documentation. This was human trafficking dressed up in federal authority. Selling is such an ugly word. I prefer facilitating justice. The brother wants closure. You want to exist. Your daughter wants a mother. We can make all of that happen, or none of it. Cross leaned back in his chair, confident in his position. $2 million, cash, untraceable. For that, he gets you and the peace of mind that comes with revenge. Your daughter gets placed in foster care, good family college fund, the works. Better than growing up visiting federal prison, which is your other option. You're FBI, not ICE. I'm a patriot who understands that sometimes the system needs funding outside official channels. Cross's smile was sharp as glass. Black ops don't fund themselves, Ms. Morgan. Or would you prefer Mitchell? Or maybe your birth name, Rebecca Thompson. 3 names, 3 lives, all of them technically dead. Rachel felt the walls closing in, but her expression never changed. In her mind, she was already wargaming scenarios, calculating odds, measuring distances. Cross was confident, which meant he'd done this before. This wasn't his first sale. How many others? She asked. Excuse me, how many other people have you erased and sold? Cross's smile widened, enough to fund several very important operations that keep America safe. You should be proud. Your sale will help prevent the next 9/11. My sale will line your pockets. That too. Patriotism and profit aren't mutually exclusive. He stood straightening his tie with practiced precision. You have 24 hours to think about it. Tomorrow night, al-Rashidi's brother arrives for the transaction. Consider your daughter, Ms. Morgan. Consider what her life looks like without you. Because one way or another, you're disappearing. The only question is whether she remembers you as a mother who abandoned her or as one who died. They put her in a cell, clean but Spartan, with a narrow cot bolted to the wall and a steel toilet that offered no privacy. No windows, just fluorescent lights that hummed at a frequency designed to prevent sleep. The walls were reinforced concrete, probably thick enough to muffle screams. 3 other women shared the cell block, all with the same haunted look of people who'd been erased from existence. First-timer. The woman in the adjacent cell was perhaps 40, Hispanic with calloused hands that suggested manual labor. Her voice carried the resigned tone of someone who'd accepted their fate. Something like that, Rachel replied, already cataloging potential assets. The cell doors were electronic, but building codes required manual overrides for fire safety. She could see the mechanism if she angled right. The cameras had blind spots where the cells met the walls, a 1-foot gap that someone trained could exploit. The fluorescent lights could be shattered to create weapons, their metal housings sharp enough to cut. Maria Gonzalez, the woman offered. Been here 6 days. They say I never existed, but my kids would disagree. 3 of them waiting for Mama to come home from her cleaning job. Rachel, how many others? Maybe 20 total. They rotate us out. Some disappear at night loaded into vans. New ones arrive. All of us are nobodies. Foster system kids, grown-up immigrants who got citizenship but have no family to miss them. People who won't be missed. Maria's voice cracked slightly. People whose existence is inconvenient to someone with power. Rachel felt the pattern clicking into place like rounds into a magazine. Cross wasn't just selling her. He was running an entire operation, selling clean American identities to criminals who needed them, using people who couldn't fight back because they technically didn't exist. The perfect crime hidden behind federal authority. Meanwhile, across the city, Michael Torres was in full combat mode. After securing Emma with his trusted neighbor, a retired Baltimore cop named Stan, who asked no questions and kept a loaded shotgun by his door. Michael had activated networks dormant since his journalism days in Afghanistan. His laptop screen filled with encrypted messages as he reached out to sources in intelligence, military, and law enforcement communities. Sarah Mitchell, he muttered, staring at a classified file a contact had risked everything to send. Navy SEAL Team 6, Sniper, MIA, presumed KIA 2014. The photo was grainy, taken from a distance at a forward operating base, but he could see Rachel in the eyes. The same focused intensity that had first attracted him. The same careful way of moving that suggested constant threat assessment. His phone buzzed. Jack Sullivan from the shipyard. Torres, what the hell happened to Morgan? Feds grabbed her. ICE, they said, but something's off. They didn't take her to the federal building. I'm coming over. Jack, you don't need to. Son, I did 20 years in Delta Force. I know an operator when I see one, and Morgan moves like someone who's seen real shit. If she's in trouble, I'm helping. End of discussion. Michael felt a surge of hope. Jack Sullivan might be pushing 70, but Delta Force operators never really retired. They just shifted to lower gear. And Delta operators had connections that went deep into America's shadow government. My apartment, 30 minutes. Michael turned back to his computer, pulling up property records for federal black sites in Baltimore. If Rachel wasn't at the official federal building, there were only so many places they could hold her. He just had to find which one. His phone rang, unknown number. Mr. Torres, this is Agent Williams from this morning. Michael hit record. Agent Williams, where's Rachel? I can't. This line might not be secure. Can you meet me alone? Why would I do that? Because your girlfriend isn't the only one who's been erased. There are others, and tomorrow night some of them are being shipped overseas in containers, sold to the highest bidder. Michael's blood went cold. Human trafficking, but worse, selling identities and bodies together. A slave trade for the modern age. Where Fells Point, the old cannery at midnight. Come alone or don't come at all. The line went dead. Michael stared at the phone, weighing the odds of a trap against the chance Williams was exactly what he seemed, a federal agent with a conscience. Jack arrived 20 minutes later, carrying a duffel bag that clinked with metal. Brought some tools, he said, simply unzipping it to reveal enough firepower to arm a squad. Michael showed him everything, Rachel's real identity. Williams called the pattern emerging of disappeared people. Jack studied it all with the focused intensity of a career soldier planning a mission. This cross-character, Jack said, finally pulling a secure satellite phone from his bag. He's running a trafficking ring using government resources. Smart. Evil, but smart. Nobody looks for people who don't exist. Williams might be our way in, or Cross's way of tying up loose ends. Jack was already dialing at numbers from memory. But we're not going in alone. Back in her cell, Rachel had made her decision. She couldn't wait for rescue that might never come. Too many variables, too many innocents at risk. The woman in the cell across from her had 3 kids waiting. The man 2 cells down kept muttering about his mother's medication he needed to refill. These people had lives, families, reasons to exist beyond government databases. She'd already identified the shift patterns. Guards changed every 6 hours with a 15-minute overlap for briefing. Meals came at 7 noon and 6 delivered by a trustee who was himself a prisoner. The cameras recorded but weren't actively monitored. She'd tested this with small movements, noting the lack of response. At 11:47 p.m., she made her move. The fluorescent bulb in her cell had been loosening all day, her fingers working at millimeter by millimeter whenever she stood on her cot to stretch. Now it came free with a sharp twist. She wrapped it in her shirt, muffling the sound as she shattered it against the steel toilet. The longest shard was 6 inches of razor-sharp glass. "What are you doing?" Maria whispered from the next cell, fear and hope mixing in her voice. "Getting us out, all of us." Rachel used the shard to slice her palm, not deep but enough for significant blood. She pressed it against the lock mechanism, letting it seep into the electronics. Then she urinated on it, crude but effective. The combination of blood, urine, and time would corrode the connections. "Maria, in about 10 minutes, you're going to have a seizure. Can you fake that?" "My cousin has epilepsy. I've seen enough." "Good. When the guards come sell it, they'll open your cell for medical. When they do, I move." Rachel positioned herself in the blind spot glass shard concealed against her wrist. The corroded lock was already sparking its LED indicator, flickering between red and green. 9 minutes later, Maria began convulsing, her performance Oscar-worthy. 2 guards rushed in, one radioing for medical, the other opening Maria's cell with his override key. Rachel's corroded lock failed at that moment, not opening but going fully dead. In the confusion, neither guard noticed. She moved like water, fluid, silent, inevitable. The first guard went down to a blood choke, unconscious in 6 seconds. The second turned, hand going for his gun, but Rachel was already inside his reach. The glass shard pressed against his carotid artery. Keys, radio, weapons, now. He complied, eyes wide with shock. A woman who'd been a welder that morning was holding him hostage with improvised weapons and special operations tactics. How many prisoners total? Rachel demanded. 23. How many guards? 6 on night shift. Good. You're going to release everyone. Then you're going to open the exit doors. Then you're going to forget you ever saw any of us. Lady, you don't understand. Cross is going to have bigger problems. Rachel zip-tied him to the cell bars with his own restraints. Maria, get everyone ready. We're leaving. The escape was chaos and precision combined. 23 ghosts moving through the facility like smoke. Rachel leading them with hand signals she hadn't used in a decade. They encountered 2 more guards, both neutralized without permanent injury. Rachel wasn't a killer anymore. She was a mother who needed to get home. They burst out into the Baltimore night, scattering in all directions as sirens began to wail in the distance. Rachel kept Maria and 3 others with her, leading them through industrial streets she'd memorized on the way in. There's a homeless shelter 6 blocks north, she told them. They don't ask questions. Get there, get help, get your lives back. What about you? Maria asked. I have unfinished business. Rachel borrowed Maria's phone, dialing Michael's number from memory. He answered on the first ring. Rachel, Jesus Christ, where are you? Industrial district, sending location. She could hear voices in the background. Who's with you? Jack from work. Agent Williams. It's complicated. Williams is there. Rachel's danger sense spiked. He's clean, or clean enough. Rachel Cross is moving you tomorrow night. Selling you to Al-Rashidi's brother, I know. Michael, get Emma somewhere safe. Out of state if possible. Already done. She's with my sister in Philadelphia. Rachel, we're coming to get you. No, I'm coming to you. This ends tonight. She hung up and started running, feet finding their rhythm in a cadence drilled into her so deep that a decade couldn't erase it. Sarah Mitchell was dead. Rachel Morgan had been erased. But the woman running through Baltimore's dark streets was something new. A mother with the skills of a SEAL and nothing left to lose. The abandoned cannery at Fells Point squatted against the harbor like a broken tooth, its shattered windows reflecting the distant lights of Baltimore's skyline. Michael waited in the shadows, Jack Sullivan beside him, with the steady presence of a man who'd waited in too many dangerous places to be rattled by one more. Agent Williams stood apart, nervous energy radiating from his federal-issue windbreaker. She said she's coming here. Williams kept checking his phone, as if expecting Cross to materialize from the screen. She'll be here, Michael confirmed, though his own anxiety was a living thing crawling up his spine. Rachel had sounded different on the phone, not scared, but focused in a way that suggested she'd made a decision about who she needed to be. Jack hadn't spoken in 10 minutes, his eyes constantly scanning the perimeter. The old Delta Force operator had positioned them with clear sight lines to all approaches and 2 separate escape routes. His hand rested casually on the Glock in his waistband, hidden beneath a Ravens jacket that had seen better decades. A shadow moved wrong against the loading dock, and Jack's hand tightened on his weapon. But Michael recognized the way the shadow flowed. Economical, purposeful, dangerous. It's her. Rachel materialized from the darkness like she'd been born from it. Her clothes were torn and stained with blood. Not all of it hers, Michael noted with professional assessment. Her eyes had changed. The careful suburban mother was gone, replaced by something that made Williams take an involuntary step backward. Chief Mitchell, Williams breathed, and Rachel's head snapped toward him with predator focus. That name died in Afghanistan, she said flatly. You're the one who contacted Michael. Ma'am, I recognized you this morning. Your movement patterns, the way you positioned yourself. I served in Iraq military police. I knew you were military, but when I ran your prints through the system, Williams swallowed hard. They came back classified beyond my clearance level. Then 2 hours later, Cross showed up and took over. You knew Cross was dirty. Jack's voice carried the particular disgust reserved for those who betrayed the uniform. Suspected, he runs a special task force off the books. Started as legitimate witness protection, but something changed 2 years ago. People started disappearing. Good people with nobody to miss them. Williams pulled out a flash drive. Everything I could copy without triggering alerts. Financial records, prisoner transfers, shipping manifests. Rachel took the drive, pocketing it without looking. How many people has he sold? At least 40 that I can confirm. Maybe more. He targets people with military or specialized backgrounds. Their identities are worth more on the black market. Former operators' intelligence assets, anyone with security clearances that could be reactivated. Jesus, Michael muttered. He's selling America's tactical advantages along with the people. The brother Amir Rashid, Rachel said. When does he arrive? Tomorrow night. Private jet into BWI diplomatic papers from Saudi Arabia. He's bringing 10 million in untraceable bonds. Williams hesitated. Ma'am, he doesn't just want you dead. The intelligence suggests he wants to break you first. Make an example. Rachel's expression didn't change. He can want whatever he likes. Jack, you still connected with anyone at Bragg? The old soldier's eyes glinted. Might know a few people who haven't forgotten what honor means. We need a team, 4 operators minimum, people who can move tonight without orders. Rachel, Michael interjected, we should go to the FBI, the real FBI. With what evidence? A flash drive from an agent who will be dead or disappeared the moment Cross realizes he's turned my testimony from a woman who doesn't exist. Rachel shook her head. This is beyond law enforcement now. Cross has 23 people in holding ready to be sold. We don't have time for bureaucracy. Jack was already on his phone, speaking in the clipped shorthand of special operations. Eagle 6, this is Grizzly. I need a favor. Yes, that kind of favor. 4 operators Baltimore tonight. I'm calling in every marker. He listened, then smiled grimly. Roger that. Semper Fi. How long? Rachel asked. 4 hours. They're at Quantico for training. Unofficial leave starts in 30 minutes. Williams looked between them, realization dawning. You're planning an assault on a federal facility. On a human trafficking ring that happens to be using federal resources? Rachel corrected. You can leave now if you want. No one would blame you. Williams straightened, something hardening in his expression. My daughter's 10, same as yours, Ms. Morgan. If someone erased me, sold me, left her alone, no, I'm in. Michael pulled Rachel aside, his hands gentle on her arms despite the blood staining them. You don't have to do this. We could disappear for real this time. And leave those people to be sold. Leave Cross free to do it again. Rachel touched his face, a moment of softness in the gathering storm. I ran once after Afghanistan. Changed my name, buried my past, tried to be normal. But normal people don't get to save anyone, Michael. And those people in that facility, they need someone who isn't normal. Emma needs her mother. She needs a mother she can be proud of, one who stood up when it mattered. Rachel kissed him, fierce and quick. Besides, you're going to keep me alive. That's what Force Recon Marines do, right? Keep Navy assets breathing. Despite everything, Michael smiled. Inter-service rivalry at a time like this. Especially at a time like this. Jack rejoined them, tucking his phone away. Teams en route, Bull Johnson, Priest, Santos, Hammer, Kowalski, and Twitch Thompson. All recently separated from JSOC, all looking for purpose. They'll bring gear. Rachel's eyebrows rose. Tommy Johnson from Team 3. You know him. We worked together in Helmand. Good operator, better human being. Some of the tension eased from Rachel's shoulders. What about Cross's schedule? Williams pulled up his phone. He'll be at the facility by 0600 to prep the prisoners for transport. Skeleton crew until then. Maybe 8 guards total. Transport how? Shipping containers at the port. They've done it before. International waters in 12 hours, then transferred to whoever bought them. Rachel studied the harbor mine, already building the operation. We hit it on. Dark shift change, confusion guards tired. 2 teams, one for the prisoners, one for Cross. Rules of engagement, Jack asked carefully. Non-lethal if possible. These guards might just be doing a job, not knowing what Cross really does. But Cross himself, Rachel's eyes went cold. He's a clear and present danger to American citizens. We stop him. Permanently if necessary. That's murder, Williams said quietly. That's justice, Jack corrected. Sometimes they're the same thing. 4 hours later, the team assembled in a warehouse Jack had borrowed from a contact who owed him favors dating back to Desert Storm. Rachel stood before a whiteboard drawing facility layouts from memory, while 5 of America's most dangerous men reviewed their equipment. Tommy Bull Johnson was 6'4" of Louisiana muscle wrapped around tactical brilliance. Miguel Priest Santos carried rosary beads and enough explosives to level a city block. David Hammer Kowalski looked like an accountant until you saw him move. And Marcus Twitch Thompson got his nickname from reflexes that bordered on precognition. "Gentlemen," Jack said formally, "meet Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell." "Rachel Morgan," she corrected immediately, but Bull was already grinning. "Holy hell, Mitchell. We thought you were dead. That shot in Kandahar is classified and stays that way." Rachel's tone brooked no argument. "I'm a welder from Baltimore who needs to rescue some people. That's all you need to know." "Yes, ma'am," Bull replied, but his grin remained. "Good to see you, vertical, whoever you are." Rachel turned to the whiteboard. 23 prisoners, 8 guards, 1 primary target. Cross will have a close protection detail, probably contractors. The facility has electronic locks with manual overrides cameras on 30-second loops and no external alarms. They don't want local PD stumbling onto their operation. "Entry," the priest asked, already calculating explosive requirements. "Subtle until it can't be. We need the prisoners mobile and calm. Panic kills operations like this." Rachel drew entry points. 2 teams. Alpha takes the north entrance, secures the guard post, initiates prisoner release. Bravo enters from the loading dock, locates, and neutralizes Cross. "I'll take Bravo," Jack volunteered, but Rachel shook her head. "You're Alpha team lead. You've got the experience to keep civilians calm under fire." "I'm Bravo." "Rachel," Michael started, "I'm the only one here who's actually seen the inside. I know the layout, the guard patterns. And," she paused, meeting each man's eyes in turn, "Cross is expecting me to be a prisoner. He won't expect me to be hunting him." "I'm going with you," Michael said firmly. "You're Overwatch. You and Williams coordinate with Baltimore PD once we're clear. We'll need ambulances, trauma teams, and someone to spin the media narrative." "The media narrative," Williams asked. "Rogue FBI agent running human trafficking ring gets taken down by concerned citizens. Hero cops respond to anonymous tip. Everyone goes home happy, except Cross." Hammer raised a hand. "Ma'am, what about the brother Rashid?" "One problem at a time. He lands tomorrow at 8 p.m. By then, Cross's operation will be ashes, and he'll have no one to buy from. Unless he decides to take his revenge anyway," Bull pointed out. Rachel's smile was sharp as winter. "Then he'll learn what his brother learned. Some fights you don't walk away from." They moved at 0430, 3 unmarked vehicles converging on the industrial district as Baltimore slept. Rachel rode with Bravo team, herself Bull and Priest. The familiar weight of tactical gear felt like coming home after a long exile. The Sig Sauer on her hip, the knife on her chest rig, the controlled breathing that preceded violence, all of it as natural as welding had become. "Mitchell," Bull said quietly as they approached the target. "That shot in Kandahar, 847 meters in a sandstorm. That was you. That was someone who doesn't exist anymore." "Roger that. But just so you know, that shot saved my squad. We were pinned, about to be overrun. Then the Scorpion's head just wasn't there anymore. We lived because of that shot." Rachel said nothing, but something loosened in her chest. For 10 years, she'd carried that kill like a sin. Maybe it had been something else. They inserted at 0-100 exactly, Jack's voice crackling through their earpieces. "Alpha in position. Guards are tired, minimal alertness, breaching in 30 seconds. Copy. Bravo moving to secondary." Rachel led her team through shadows that seemed to part for them, 3 ghosts in tactical black. The loading dock was unguarded, Cross's arrogance assuming no one would dare attack a federal facility. The door's lock yielded to Priest's picks in 12 seconds. They flowed inside, weapons up, but fingers off triggers. The corridor beyond was industrial bland, but Rachel recognized the route from her earlier escape. She hand-signaled directions, muscle memory taking over. Jack's voice. "Alpha has the guard post. 2 tangos down, non-lethal. Moving to cells." They heard the commotion ahead. Shouts, running feet, the electronic shriek of alarms. But also something else cheering. The prisoners realizing they were being freed, not disappeared. "Contact front," Bull whispered, and Rachel saw them. 2 contractors in tactical gear, escorting Cross toward a reinforced door marked, "Authorized personnel only." She didn't hesitate. The flashbang grenade rolled across the floor like a child's toy, then erupted in divine thunder. Rachel was moving before the light died, taking the first contractor with a strike to the carotid that dropped him bonelessly. Bull handled the second with similar efficiency. Crosshairs ringing and eyes streaming, still managed to draw his weapon. But Rachel was already there, the pistol clattering away as she struck his wrist. He swung wildly, training evident despite his disorientation. She let him overextend, then put him down with a knee strike that would have made her old instructors proud. "Bravo has the target," she reported, zip-tying Cross's hands as he groaned on the floor. "Package secure." "Alpha has all prisoners accounted for," Jack replied. "Moving to extract." But Cross was laughing through his pain, blood running from his nose. "You think this ends with me? You have no idea how deep this goes. How many people want what I'm selling?" Rachel knelt beside him, voice conversational. "Maybe, but you're done. Those people you were going to sell, they were free. Your operation finished. And you're going to prison for a very long time." "Prison, but..." Cross's laugh turned ugly. "I know too much. CIA, NSA operations you can't imagine. They'll never let me testify. I'll be dead within a week and this will all be blamed on some patsy." "Probably," Rachel agreed, "but that's a week more than you gave your victims." Williams' voice crackled through the radio. "Baltimore PD en route 3 minutes. Federal backup behind them." "Time to go," Bull said, but Rachel hesitated, staring down at Cross. "The brother," she said. "Rashid, call him. Tell him the deal's off." "He'll come anyway. For you. He knows who you are now." "Good. Let him come." She stood, stepping over Cross's prone form. "Bravo extracting." They left him there, tied and broken, for the legitimate authorities to find. The prisoners were already being loaded into vehicles Jack had arranged. Not official transport, but a network of veterans who asked no questions when duty called. Rachel found Maria Gonzalez in the crowd, wrapped in a blanket, but standing tall. "Thank you," Maria said simply. "Thank yourself. You played that seizure perfectly." "My kids. Williams will help. He's one of the good ones." As sirens filled the air and Baltimore PD swarmed the facility, Rachel stood with Michael on a rooftop 2 blocks away, watching the aftermath unfold. The tactical gear was already packed away, Rachel back in civilian clothes that didn't quite hide the warrior beneath. "It's not over," Michael said quietly. "The brother Cross's network, whoever he was selling to." "No, it's not." Rachel leaned into his warmth, allowing herself one moment of peace. "But 23 people are going home to their families tonight. That's worth something. And tomorrow. Tomorrow Emma comes home. We have dinner like a normal family. And if Amir Rashid wants to find me, well..." She smiled, and Michael saw both the woman he loved and the operator she'd been. "I'm not hard to find anymore. Rachel Morgan Welder, Baltimore Shipyard. Come and get me." Jack joined them, the old soldier moving with renewed purpose despite the night's exertions. "The boys are asking if you need anything else, Bull especially. Says he owes you a debt from Kandahar. Tell them the debt's paid. They came when it mattered. They'll stay in the area for a few days, just in case." Jack studied her carefully. "You know this isn't over." "I know, but I'm done running, done hiding." Rachel looked out over Baltimore, her adopted city where her daughter waited and her life existed even if the databases said otherwise. Sarah Mitchell died doing her duty. Rachel Morgan lives protecting her family. If Rashid can't understand the difference, that's his problem. Williams approached his federal windbreaker replaced with a Baltimore PD jacket, cover for his presence. Cross is in custody. He's already trying to make a deal, naming names. This is going to be big, Rachel. Bigger than just Baltimore. "That's your fight now," Rachel replied. "I'm just a welder." Williams smiled sadly. "No, you're not. You're a hero, even if no one can ever know it." As dawn broke over Baltimore Harbor, painting the industrial district in shades of gold and shadow, Rachel Morgan stood between her 2 lives, the operator she'd been and the mother she'd chosen to become. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Amir Rashid would come drawn by vengeance and hate. Cross's network would seek retribution. The government would ask questions about how a federal black site had been raided by ghosts. But today, 23 people were free. A corrupt agent was in custody, and a mother could go home to her daughter. The radio in Michael's pocket crackled, Emma's voice small but strong. "Uncle Michael, is Mommy okay?" Michael handed Rachel the radio. She keyed it, voice steady despite the tears threatening. "I'm okay, baby. I'm coming home." "Mom, they said you didn't exist, but that's stupid. You are the most real person I know." Rachel laughed, surprising herself with the sound. You're right, sweetheart, I exist. I'm real, and I'll be there soon. She handed the radio back to Michael, then looked at the assembled warriors. Jack, the JASOC operators, Williams, and her Michael. Her tribe gathered by circumstance but bonded by purpose. Breakfast, Bull suggested. I know a place that doesn't ask questions about blood on your knuckles. Breakfast, Rachel agreed. But first someone needs to teach me how to exist in government databases again. I have a job to get back to. Already on it, Williams said, pulling out his phone. Amazing what you can do with Cross's access codes and a little righteous anger. Rachel Morgan, born Colorado Springs, 1992, is being restored as we speak. Clerical error, very embarrassing, full apology from the government. That easy. That easy when you have an FBI agent who actually wants to protect and serve. Williams met her eyes. Ma'am, what you did tonight, my daughter's safe because people like you exist. Thank you. Rachel nodded, uncomfortable with gratitude she felt she didn't deserve. But Jack understood, placing a weathered hand on her shoulder. You saved lives tonight, sailor. Own it. As they walked toward breakfast and whatever came next, Rachel felt something she hadn't experienced in 10 years. The possibility of peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the knowledge that she could face whatever came with truth instead of lies, strength instead of hiding. The text came at 3 a.m., 3 days after the raid. Rachel read it in the darkness of her bedroom, Michael sleeping peacefully beside her, unaware that war had just been declared in digital silence. The Scorpion had a family. Now you will know what it means to lose yours. No signature needed. Amir Rashid had arrived. Rachel slipped off from bed with practiced, silence muscle memory, guiding her to the concealed safe where she'd stored items a welder shouldn't own. The Sig Sauer felt cold and certain in her hand. She checked the load, chambered around, then sat in the darkness, thinking. 3 days of manufactured normalcy. Emma back from Philadelphia chattering about her cousin's new dog. Michael writing his story about the raid, carefully omitting details that would compromise anyone involved. Rachel returning to the shipyard where Jack and the crew welcomed her back with no questions about her missed days. Even a visit from Williams, now heading a joint task force investigating Cross's network, confirming her identity, was fully restored in all systems. She'd almost believed they could return to normal. Rachel picked up her phone, typing quickly in their established emergency code. Within minutes, responses came back. Jack. On my way. Bull team spinning up. Williams FBI resources at your disposal. Michael stirred beside her. Rachel. She showed him the text. His expression hardened from sleep soft to combat ready in an instant. How did he get your number? Cross. He had to have given it before we took him. Rachel was already moving, pulling on jeans and a black tactical shirt. Michael, get Emma. We're moving to the safe house. She's got school. She's got a target on her back. Move. 20 minutes later, they were in Jack's truck, Emma confused but trusting, as they drove through pre-dawn Baltimore toward a cabin in the Catoctin Mountains that Jack had maintained since his Delta days. Bull's team followed in 2 vehicles, a protective convoy that would have made any rational predator reconsider. But Amir Rashid wasn't rational. He was rich, connected, and consumed by a decade of planning revenge. Williams met them at the cabin, his federal sedan looking out of place among the tactical vehicles. We've got a problem, he said without preamble. Rashid didn't just come for you. He brought an army. He showed them satellite footage on his tablet, a warehouse near the port, heat signatures indicating at least 20 men. Military-grade vehicles. What looked like heavy weapons. Private military contractors. Bull identified immediately. Probably Executive Outcomes or Wagner Group. Mercenaries with no rules except the paycheck. He's not trying to be subtle, Jack observed. He wants you to know he's coming. It's not about me anymore, Rachel said quietly, watching Emma through the window as Michael helped her with homework, maintaining the illusion of normalcy. It's about terror, making an example. He wants the world to know what happens to those who kill his family. Priest crossed himself. So we hit first. Strike the warehouse, eliminate the threat. 20-plus mercenaries in an urban environment. Hammer shook his head. Civilian casualties would be massive, media nightmare. Plus it's technically an act of war, Williams added. Foreign nationals on American soil. State Department would lose their minds. So we wait, Twitch's fingers drummed against his rifle, the nervous energy that gave him his nickname manifesting. Let them come to us. No. Rachel stood decision, crystallizing. We give him what he wants. Mipe. The room erupted in protest, but Rachel raised her hand for silence. Listen, he wants a public execution, a spectacle. Fine. We give him one. But we control the where and when. Jack understood first, his weathered face creasing in a dangerous smile. A trap. The shipyard, Rachel continued, tomorrow night, isolated enough to prevent civilian casualties, industrial enough to provide tactical advantages, and symbolic, where Rachel Morgan exists every day. You're using yourself as bait, Michael said flatly. I'm using his obsession against him. He's had 10 years to build this up in his mind, the legendary shot that killed his brother. He won't be able to resist the chance for poetic justice. Williams pulled up blueprints on his tablet. The shipyard's a maze, cranes, containers, half-built ships. A lot of places to hide shooters. Exactly. Bull, your team takes overwatch positions. Jack coordinates ground elements. Michael, I'm with you. Michael, non-negotiable. You want to play bait, fine, but you don't do it alone. Rachel saw the determination in his eyes, the Marine who'd survived Fallujah and Helmand surfacing fully. She nodded. Williams, can you keep local PD clear? I can sell it as a federal anti-terrorism drill, give you maybe a 2-hour window before someone notices the shooting isn't blanks. 2 hours is generous, Rachel said. If this takes more than 20 minutes, we've already lost. They spent the day preparing. Weapons cleaned and sighted, positions scouted. Emma safely tucked away with Williams's own family, surrounded by off-duty FBI agents who thought they were protecting a witness. Rachel stood with her at sunset, memorizing her daughter's face. Mom, you're scaring me, Emma said quietly. Remember what I taught you about being brave. That it's not about not being scared. It's about doing what's right despite the fear. That's my girl. Rachel hugged her fiercely. I have to go do something right, but I'll be back for breakfast. Promise? Rachel had never lied to her daughter. She wouldn't start now. I promise to do everything in my power to come back. Emma nodded, wise beyond her years. Kick their butts, Mom. Despite everything, Rachel laughed. Language, young lady. You say worse when you were working on the truck. Fair point. The shipyard at night was a forest of steel and shadows. Rachel walked through the main gate at exactly midnight, no attempt at concealment. She wore her welding jacket over tactical gear, a deliberate insult. The blue-collar American worker over the warrior. Michael flanked her at 20 meters visible, but not obviously protective. His press badge caught the security lights, another calculated insult. The free press that would document whatever happened here. Rachel's phone buzzed. Unknown number. You came... Rashid's voice was cultured, British educated, nothing like his brother's harsh desert tones. You threatened my daughter. Where else would I be? Your daughter, yes. Did you think about my brother's children when you killed him? 3 sons who grew up without a father. Your brother was a terrorist who killed innocent people. He made his choice. And you made yours. Now we both live with the consequences. Movement in the shadows. Rachel counted muzzle flashes of infrared lasers, 12, maybe 15 shooters taking positions, but also the subtle counter-movement of Bull's team ghosts in the steel forest. I know who you are now, Rashid continued. Sarah Mitchell, the ghost sniper, the woman who doesn't miss. That woman died in Afghanistan. No, she just changed her name. But a wolf in sheep's clothing is still a wolf. He stepped into view 50 meters away, surrounded by contractors in full tactical gear. Rashid himself wore an expensive suit, as if attending a board meeting rather than an execution. He was younger than his brother had been, early 40s, with the soft look of wealth rather than warfare. I'm going to kill you, he said conversationally. Then your boyfriend. Then everyone who helped you. And then when you are all dead, I'm going to raise your daughter as my own. Teach her about her mother, the murderer. Make her understand. The shot came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Rashid's left shoulder exploded in red, spinning him to the ground. His contractors reacted instantly, weapons up, searching for threats. But the shot hadn't come from Bull's team or any position Rachel had planned. Contact unknown, bearing 270. Bull's voice crackled through her earpiece. I don't have a visual on the shooter. Another shot. One of Rashid's contractors dropped, knee shattered. Then another shoulder wound. Precise disabling professional. Someone's hunting them, Jack reported. Pattern suggests, Rachel, that's your shooting pattern. But Rachel was 20 meters from the nearest weapon, hands visible and empty. Michael had moved to cover her, but he was as confused as everyone else. There, Priest called out. Crane 4 halfway up. Rachel looked and felt her world tilt. The shooter was a woman moving through the crane's structure with familiar efficiency. Blonde hair caught the moonlight. The rifle Rachel recognized at even at distance was a match for the one she'd used in Afghanistan. Impossible, she breathed. The woman fired again, another contractor down. Rashid's men were panicking now, firing wildly at the crane while trying to drag their employer to safety. But they were in the kill box and the shooter was systematically destroying their capability. All teams do not engage the unknown shooter, Rachel commanded, starting to run toward the crane. I say again, do not engage. She climbed the crane's ladder with desperate efficiency, Michael following, despite her shouts to stay back. 60 feet up, she found the shooter's position. The rifle was there, still warm, recently fired. But no shooter. What the hell? Michael gasped, catching up. Movement below. Rachel looked down to see someone in welding gear walking calmly through the chaos, heading straight for where Rashid's remaining men had taken cover. The figure moved exactly like Rachel moved, carried themselves exactly like... No, Rachel whispered, understanding, hitting like a physical blow. She half climbed, half fell, down the crane, hitting the ground, running. But she was too far away. The figure in welding gear had reached Rashid's position. The contractors, confused and demoralized, hesitated just long enough. The welder drew a pistol. Rachel's pistol, the one she thought was still in her safe, and shot 2 contractors, center mass. Non-lethal shots, but they went down hard. The others fled. Their employer abandoned their payday, not worth dying for. Rashid, shoulder bleeding, looked up at his executor with hate and fear. You're supposed to be her. The welder knelt beside him, and Rachel heard her own voice speaking words she'd never said. I am her, the real her, the one who doesn't forgive. Rachel, stop! Rachel shouted, sprinting the final distance. The welder turned, and Rachel found herself looking at her own face. Not exact, the scars were wrong, the eyes a slightly different shade, but close enough to be a sister, or a clone, or something impossible. Hello, Rachel, the double said calmly. Or should I say, hello, self. Who are you? I'm what you could have been, would have been if you hadn't gotten soft. The double turned back to Rashid, who was trying to crawl away, leaving a blood trail. This one threatened Emma, our daughter. What's the appropriate response to that? Justice, not murder. Same thing, different words. The double raised the pistol to Rashid's head. Rachel moved, not toward the double, that's what she expected, but to Rashid, shielding him with her own body. You want to kill him, you kill me first. The double laughed, a sound Rachel recognized from her darkest moments. You would die for the man who came to murder your family. I'd die to keep my daughter from having a killer for a mother. She already does. How many confirmed kills, Sarah? 43, 44. Sarah Mitchell is dead. Sarah Mitchell is standing right in front of you, holding a gun, ready to finish what you started. The double's voice hardened. You called in that drone strike on yourself. You wanted to end the killing. But they pulled you out, gave you a new name, new life, and you actually thought you could play house, be normal. You're not me, Rachel said with sudden certainty. You're what someone thinks I am. Cross, this is Cross's backup plan. The double tilted her head. Smart, always were too smart. Yes, Cross found someone who looked close enough, trained them, prepared them. If his primary operation failed, I become you. Take your life, your daughter, everything. But here's the thing, I studied you so long, I know you better than you know yourself. And I know you want this. She gestured at Rashid with the gun. You want him dead for threatening Emma. Part of me does, Rachel admitted. The part that put 44 people in the ground for God and country. But that's not who I choose to be anymore. Choice, the double spat the word. You think you get to choose. You think those 44 deaths just disappear because you picked up a welding torch. No, I live with them every day, but I don't add to them. Michael's voice came from behind the double. Drop the weapon. The double didn't turn. Mr. Torres, Marine Force Recon, 8 years, 17 confirmed kills. You understand necessity. I understand you're not Rachel. Rachel would never monologue. She'd have already acted. The double smiled. True, but I needed her close enough. She moved impossibly fast, the gun swinging not toward Rashid or Rachel, but toward where Emma would be if she were here, a psychological shot that made Rachel react instinctively, lunging forward. The double had counted on that. The gun reversed, aimed now at Rachel's chest at the point-blank range. Predictable to the shot came from above. The double's gun hand exploded in red weapons spinning away. She screamed, clutching the destroyed hand to her chest. Bull's voice crackled through comms. Clear shot, clean shot. Tango neutralized. Rachel kicked the gun away, then looked at her double, this twisted mirror of what she could have become. You studied me, but you missed the most important part. I'm never alone anymore. Jack and the team materialized from the shadows, weapons trained on the wounded double. Williams arrived with FBI backup medics rushing to treat Rashid and the wounded contractors. The double laughed through her pain. This isn't over. Cross had contingencies. Other doubles, other lives he prepared to steal. You'll never be safe. Maybe not, Rachel agreed, but I'll be real. I'll be present. I'll be the mother Emma deserves, not the ghost you are. Williams cuffed the double, reading her rights she probably didn't care about. Rashid being loaded onto a stretcher caught Rachel's eyes. You saved me. Why, please be my... Rachel looked at him, this man who'd come to destroy everything she loved, and saw not a monster, but a brother consumed by grief. Because someone has to break the cycle. Your brother killed innocents. I killed your brother. You came to kill me. Where does it end? My brother's sons will grow up knowing their uncle tried to avenge their father and was shown mercy instead. That's the story you'll tell them. That's the legacy you'll leave, not more death. Rashid closed his eyes. The Americans will prosecute me. Yes, but you'll be alive. Your nephews will have family. The cycle ends. He nodded slightly, then let the medics take him away. Michael wrapped his arms around Rachel from behind. You okay? No, but I will be. She looked at the double being led away. She was right about one thing. Sarah Mitchell is still in me, still part of who I am. Part, not all. Not all, Rachel agreed. Jack approached the old soldier, looking every one of his 68 years, but still standing tall. Hell of a thing, Morgan. Hell of a thing. Thanks for the overwatch. Always. Though Bull claims that shot, not me. Says he owed you from Kandahar. Debts paid. Ma'am, Bull joined them, rifle slung casually. We swept the perimeter. All tangos accounted for no casualties besides the ones who earned it. Clean up. Not clean, Rachel corrected. Messy and public and everything I tried to avoid, but necessary. The necessary ones usually are messy, Priest observed, crossing himself. But sometimes God puts us where we need to be when we need to be there. Philosophical for a demolitions expert, Hammer noted. I contain multitudes, Priest replied with dignity. Williams approached phone to his ear. Rachel, I've got Director Morrison on the line. He wants to thank you personally, maybe discuss bringing you back to active. No. Rachel cut him off. Thank the director, but no. I'm done being a ghost, a weapon, a tool. I'm a welder, a mother, a woman who exists in daylight. Williams relayed the message, listened, then smiled. He says he understands. Also says, if you ever change your mind, SEAL Team 6 would welcome you back. Tell him Sarah Mitchell is dead, but Rachel Morgan is happy to keep making ships for the Navy. Someone has to build what the operators ride in. Dawn was breaking over Baltimore Harbor as they stood among the industrial carnage. The shipyard would need explaining insurance claims, probably a congressional hearing. But for now, in this moment, Rachel Morgan stood surrounded by the family she'd chosen. Michael, Jack, the operators who'd answered the call, Williams, who'd risked everything for justice. Her phone buzzed. A text from the safe house where Emma waited. Mom, is it breakfast time yet? Rachel typed back, on my way, sweetheart. Pancakes or waffles? Both and bacon, Mom. Demanding child. Wonder where she gets it. Michael teased. Her father, obviously. Rachel deadpanned, then caught his expression. What? Did you just make a joke about the future, our future? Rachel considered this. For 10 years, she'd lived day to day, never planning beyond the next week, the next job, the next threat. But standing here with the shadows of her past finally faced, if not defeated, she could see further. I might have, she admitted. That a problem, Marine? No, ma'am, no problem at all. They left the shipyard as police tape went up and investigators swarmed. Rachel Morgan Welderbond would have to answer questions about why terrorists and mercenaries had chosen her workplace for their showdown. She had a story already mistaken, identity, wrong place, wrong time. Thank God for the FBI response. Some of them might even believe it, but Baltimore knew. The blue-collar city that had sheltered her for 10 years understood that sometimes ordinary people did extraordinary things. The other welders at the yard Jack's network of veterans, the cops and firefighters and paramedics who'd responded, they'd close ranks around one of their own. At the cabin, Emma waited on the porch, still in her pajamas, despite Williams's wife's attempts to get her dressed. She launched herself at Rachel, all knees and elbows, and fierce 10-year-old love. You smell like gunpowder, Emma observed, wrinkling her nose. Occupational hazard. I thought you were a welder. Welders can be complicated. Emma pulled back, studying her mother's face with those two wise eyes. You're a hero, aren't you? Like a real one. Rachel knelt to her daughter's level. I'm your mom. That's the only hero I need to be. Mom, and yeah, baby. The bad men who came for us, are they gone? Rachel thought about Rashid in federal custody, the double-headed for a black site interrogation, Cross's network unraveling as Williams's task force followed every thread. There would be more threats, more shadows. The price of her past would never be fully paid. But for now, in this moment, with her daughter in her arms and her chosen family around her, Rachel could offer something better than a lie. The ones who came are gone. If others come, we'll face them. Together. Promise, semper fi, baby girl. What's that mean? Michael answered, his hand warm on Rachel's shoulder. Always faithful. It means we always have each other's backs. Like a family. Exactly like a family. They went inside for breakfast, pancakes and waffles, and enough bacon to feed a squad of Marines. Jack told war stories edited for 10-year-old ears. Bull and his team taught Emma card tricks before departing for their next mission wherever America needed nameless heroes. Williams updated them on the investigation, 23 freed prisoners reunited with families, a trafficking ring destroyed, justice served. Rachel Morgan sat at the table listening to her daughter laugh, watching her boyfriend and her mentor argue about baseball, feeling the weight of the Sig Sauer still on her hip, because vigilance was eternal, but also feeling something else. Peace, not the absence of conflict, but the presence of purpose. She'd been Sarah Mitchell, ghost sniper, taker of lives. She'd been nobody, erased and hunted. Now she was Rachel Morgan Welder, mother protector. The ghosts of 44 confirmed kills would always shadow her, but they no longer defined her. She'd chosen who to be, and more importantly, who not to be. The double had been wrong choice was exactly what separated her from what she could have become. Her phone buzzed. Jack glanced at it, frowned. Rachel, you need to see this. It was a news alert. Decorated Navy SEAL revealed as Baltimore hero. Someone, probably someone grateful for a rescued relative, had leaked just enough truth to make her a story. Not the whole truth, not Sarah Mitchell or the classified operations, but Rachel Morgan, Navy veteran, who'd helped stop a human trafficking ring. This is bad, Rachel said immediately. Exposure means vulnerability. Emma will be the daughter of a hero, Michael interrupted. A public hero. Hard to make those disappear. Jack nodded approvingly. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Can't erase someone everyone knows exists. Rachel looked at the article at her service photo from a decade ago, younger. Harder, not yet carrying the weight that had driven her to call a drone strike on her own position. That woman was gone, but her sacrifice had led to this, to Rachel Morgan, who existed fully in the light. Mom, you're famous, Emma exclaimed, reading over her shoulder. Temporarily, it'll blow over. Still cool. Can I tell my friends? You can tell them your mom is a welder who sometimes helps people. That's what heroes do. They help people. From the mouths of babes, Rachel thought. Maybe that's all any of them were, people trying to help, carrying the weight of necessary sins, choosing each day to be better than their worst moments. Yeah, baby, she said, pulling Emma close. That's what heroes do. Outside, Baltimore was waking up. Ships needed building, steel needed welding, and Rachel Morgan needed to exist fully, completely, unapologetically. Sarah Mitchell was dead, her 44 kills a classified legend. But Rachel Morgan lived, and that was miracle enough for one lifetime. 6 months later, Rachel stood in the same spot where she'd faced down her double, but now the shipyard hummed with normal activity. She was back in her welding gear, teaching a class of apprentices veterans transitioning to civilian life, referred by Jack's network. Remember, she told them running a perfect bead for demonstration? Welding is about joining things that were separate, making something broken whole again. Every ship we build carries sailors home. Every beam we join keeps families safe. It's not just metalwork, it's purpose. One of the apprentices, a young woman with a 1,000-yard stare of recent combat, raised her hand. "Ma'am, is it true what they say about you being a SEAL?" Rachel considered her answer. The official story was public now. Decorated veteran helped stop trafficking ring. The truth was more complex, but truth it always was. "I served," she said simply. "Now I build. Both matter." After class, she found Michael waiting by her truck, laptop bag slung over his shoulder. His story about the trafficking ring had won a Pulitzer nomination. More importantly, it had led to 15 more arrests, 43 reunited families, and a complete overhaul of federal witness protection protocols. "Emma's at soccer practice," he said. "Thought we could grab dinner. Someplace that doesn't require me to shower first. Would I do that to you?" "Yes," he grinned. "Okay, but not today. Jack's already at the bar. Williams is bringing his family. Even Bull's in town." A reunion, an announcement. Michael pulled out a small velvet box, opened it, to reveal a simple silver ring with a tiny sapphire Emma's birthstone. "Rachel Morgan, will you continue existing with me?" Rachel looked at the ring, at this man who'd seen her at her most dangerous and never flinched, who'd stood between her and darkness more times than she could count. "That's the worst proposal I've ever heard." "It's the only one you've ever heard." "Still terrible. You're supposed to say something about love and forever." "I love you forever." Better. Getting there. "Rachel Morgan, who I love more than good whiskey and accurate journalism, will you marry me so I can continue watching your six until we're old and gray and Emma has to put us in a home? Now you're assuming we'll grow old. With you, I'm assuming we'll be too stubborn to die." Rachel pulled off her welding gloves, took the ring, slid it on. It fit perfectly, of course. Michael had probably consulted Jack, who'd noticed her ring size the way he noticed everything, old habits of observation that kept operators alive. "Yes," she said simply. He kissed her tasting of coffee and promised there in the shipyard where Rachel Morgan existed every day building things that mattered. That night, surrounded by the family they'd chosen and forged in fire, Rachel watched Emma demonstrate her soccer moves for Williams' kids, listened to Jack and Bull argue about rifle specifications, felt Michael's hand warm in hers. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. For a moment, the old alertness spiked another threat, another ghost from the past. But it was just a text. "Thank you for my uncle's life, Hamza al-Rashidi, the Scorpion's eldest son." Rachel stared at the message, then typed back, "Live well, honor your father's memory, with peace, not war. My uncle told us what you did. What you didn't do, we understand now. The debt is settled." Rachel deleted the thread but kept the lesson. Every choice created ripples. Every mercy planted seeds. Sarah Mitchell had killed 44 people. Rachel Morgan had saved 23, plus however many Cross would have sold, plus 3 boys in Saudi Arabia who would grow up knowing mercy was stronger than vengeance. The math would never balance. Heroes were just people who kept trying anyway. "Everything okay?" Michael asked, noticing her expression. "Yeah, just ghosts making peace, weapon." "Good. We've got enough war for one lifetime." Rachel looked around the bar at her tribe of warriors pretending to be civilians, her daughter laughing with the other kids, her city's lights twinkling through windows that had seen revolution and rebirth. More than enough, she agreed. Tomorrow she'd teach more veterans to weld building futures from steel and purpose. Emma would go to school where everyone knew her mom was a hero, even if they didn't know the details. Michael would write stories that mattered. Jack would keep watching over them all. Life would be beautifully, preciously normal. But tonight, Rachel Morgan existed completely. No shadows, no secrets that mattered, no identity that could be erased. She was a mother, a fighter, a builder, a survivor. She was proof that people could change, that warriors could choose peace, that ghosts could become real. Sarah Mitchell was dead. Rachel Morgan was fully and possibly defiantly alive. And that was enough. Actually, it was everything. Thank you for watching this incredible story of Rachel Morgan, the Navy SEAL who chose family over glory. If this story moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of courage and sacrifice. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that no matter how dark things get, a mother's love can overcome any obstacle. Leave a comment below. What would you have done in Rachel's position? Would you have taken the shot? And remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss our next story. Until then, stay strong, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the greatest warriors are the ones who choose not to fight. No, she's not hurt, but there are some people here, government people. They're asking about you, about your documentation. They say there's a serious problem with your records. Don't let anyone take her anywhere. Do you understand me, Mrs. Patterson? No one. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Mrs. Hayes, they have federal badges. They're saying it's urgent. 15 minutes. Jenny ended the call and turned to Tom, who was already watching her with the focused attention of an operator reading a developing situation. Family emergency. I need to go. His weathered eyes narrowed, picking up signals in her body language that triggered old instincts. You need backup. Just paperwork confusion. Jenny lied smoothly, though her mind was already running through threat assessments and contingency plans. Probably a Social Security mix-up. But as she jogged to her 10-year-old Ford pickup, Jenny's trained mind was cycling through possibilities at combat speed. The identity of Jenny Hayes had been crafted by experts, people who owed her their lives, people who understood how to build legends that would withstand scrutiny. CIA operators who'd promised her a clean slate after Afghanistan, after the shot that had saved a platoon, but cost her everything. The drive to Ridgewood Elementary typically took 20 minutes through Baltimore's morning traffic. Jenny made it in 12, taking corners with the precision of someone who'd learned to drive in Fallujah's kill zones. Her hands remained steady on the wheel, but her mind was compartmentalizing threats, analyzing patterns, preparing for contact. The school parking lot appeared normal at first glance. Minivans with stick-figure families on the windows, sensible sedans with teacher parking permits, the crossing guard chatting with the mailman about yesterday's Ravens game. But Jenny's trained eye immediately identified the anomalies: two black Chevrolet Suburbans with government plates antennas that suggested encrypted communications capability and tinted windows that reflected nothing back. The kind of vehicles that appeared in places where constitutional rights became negotiable. She parked strategically, rear facing out for rapid departure keys transferred to her left hand, keeping her right free for action, truck positioned to use as cover if needed. These were automatic responses, muscle memory that a decade of welding couldn't overwrite. The school's front office felt smaller with the wrong people in it. Mrs. Patterson sat rigid behind her desk, her face pale with the kind of fear that came from ordinary people suddenly confronted with federal authority. Lily sat in one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs, her Little Mermaid backpack clutched against her chest like armor, her blue eyes, the same shade as the father she'd never know about, wide with confusion and growing fear. Three people in dark suits stood around them, their positions tactical rather than casual, covering exits, maintaining sight lines ready for rapid response. Federal agents, but something was off about their energy, their positioning. They were hunting, not investigating. Mommy, Lily started to rise, but the female agent, cold brown eyes and a forgettable face, placed a restraining hand on her small shoulder. Take your hand off my daughter. Jenny's voice carried the kind of command authority that made seasoned operators step back. It wasn't loud, wasn't aggressive, but it promised consequences that reasonable people wanted to avoid. The female agent complied, but slowly, deliberately maintaining eye contact like a predator testing boundaries. The social dynamics of violence establishing dominance through microaggressions. Jenny had seen it in interrogation rooms from Kabul to Kandahar. Ms. Hayes, the lead agent, a tall African-American man with kind eyes that didn't match his rigid posture, stepped forward with careful deliberation. I'm Agent Williams with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We need to discuss some serious irregularities with your documentation. My documentation is in perfect order. Jenny moved with casual precision, positioning herself between the agents and Lily, a protective barrier that looked natural but created tactical advantage. Agent Williams noticed. His hand drifted incrementally toward his hip, where his service weapon created a subtle bulge. That's the problem, ma'am. According to our records, all federal records actually, you don't exist. There's no Jennifer Hayes matching your description in any government database. No birth certificate on file, no social security number in the system, no record of you ever being born on American soil. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Jenny felt Lily's small hand grip the back of her shirt, anchoring herself to the only parent she'd ever known. In the corner of her eyes, she saw Mrs. Patterson's shocked expression, the look of someone watching their understanding of reality crack. But Jenny's face remained calm, even as her mind raced through implications and contingencies. Someone had burned her legend. Someone with access and authority had reached into federal databases and deleted Jenny Hayes from existence. The question was who, and more importantly, why now? After 10 years of quiet life, what had triggered this? That's impossible. I have a driver's license, work permits, 10 years of tax returns. All fraudulent according to our systems, the female agent interrupted, producing a tablet and turning it to display Jenny's documents with large red invalid stamps across them. As of 800 a.m. this morning, every trace of your existence has been flagged as fabricated, which makes you an illegal alien using false documents to claim American citizenship. This is insane. Jenny pulled out her wallet, spreading her identification on the counter with deliberate calm. Call my employer, Hawkins Shipbuilding. Call the IRS. I've been paying taxes for a decade. Ma'am, Agent Williams' voice carried what seemed like genuine regret. I need you to come with us. We'll sort this out at the federal building. Your daughter will need to come too until we can verify. No, Keen. The word came out with enough force to make everyone in the room tense. Jenny felt the energy shift the way